Donald Trump and the Republican Party has changed the electorate. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at party identification, Democrats versus Republicans. You go back to 2017, 5 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. You go to 2021 when Joe Biden was starting out, look at that, 6 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. But look at what's happened in February of 2025. Look at this. Republicans, there are more Republicans in the electorate than there are Democrats. Republican +2. So Donald Trump and the Republicans have remade the electorate. They've turned some people over from being Democrats or independents to become Republicans. New folks have entered the electorate who are more Republican leaning. And so when you combine that with the fact that Republicans are really, really behind Donald Trump, all of a sudden you get a winning recipe whereby you break the normal rules of politics and give Donald Trump that positive net approval rating when he had pretty much a consistently negative one in term number one. As I said at the beginning, he's copying Frank Sinatra, doing it my way. Donald Trump.
I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few. And now we face the final curtain. Are you tired of winning yet? Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. America is back, baby. Some good, some bad, but we were used to mostly bad, not much good. It's morning in America again. And again, literally and metaphorically. I'm glad to have you here. It's cold in here. Get that space heater on. Guys, are you guys frozen solid here? It's so dang cold. What is this? Polar vortex? It's so dang cold here. They just keep canceling school. Karate was canceled last night. That's all right. It was my birthday. Sat back, hanged out with my babies. Had a wonderful day. Hope that you are safe and warm wherever you are. And if you have to get out there in the cold this morning and you have to shovel a driveway or you got to work an outside job like an electrician or plumber or something like that, well, guys, my hat goes off to you if I was wearing one. This hat. Donald Trump and the Republicans have remade the electorate. Boy, every day you wake up, there's just so much news to cover. And it's strange because in some ways it feels like we're living in a dream. When I see headlines like, thousands of layoffs expected to start hitting the IRS on Thursday. Jesus. That would have given me a heart attack if I would have read something like that a few years ago. I didn't believe it. And, you know, everybody's getting all distracted by the news headlines about what's going on with immigration. And certainly it's a huge story all on its own. But I am just feeling so laser focused on what's happening with the economic situation in the United States. I mean, we're talking about making the kinds of transformational changes that, one, can't be undone as easily as some of the black pillars think. What am I talking about with the black pillars? I'm talking about the people who still have not come on board the administration. By the way, in completely related news, Senator Rand Paul endorsed Donald Trump last night. What? It's like, I saw a really good meme of the detective from Die Hard or whoever it is like he fully endorses John, the good guy for Bruce Willis's character from Die Hard, John McClane. He fully endorses his actions after he's saved all the hostages from the terrorists and done. He fully endorses him after John McClane saved everybody at Nakatomi Tower. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we all. You got to give your friends, you got to give the Johnny-come-latelys the chance to convert, right? Because if you don't give people the opportunity to come on board, then, you know, you're setting yourself up with just nothing but future enemies, right? So when people want to convert, you have to allow them into the religion, the state religion that anarchists would be saying. No! I already saw this morning there's so much hostility and anger from and it's from the worst people in the liberty movement who are really mad about what Rand Paul did. But also you can't, when you invite him into the fold, yes, come on in, welcome, to the table. We're all having a nice little one of us tonight. Tonight we will dance with you, and the one of us we'll pound on the tables before we drink lots of whatever RFK Jr. says it's okay for us to eat and drink. Because that's the bad stuff. I'll be honest. I know people like, yeah, I really like the Kennedys. peace, but like, I'm not a Kennedy libertarian. Okay, I'm a limited government guy, and I really don't like all the talks of bans and all this stuff. The studying that I'm hearing going on over at HHS, that we're going to study this, we're going to study that, and it just so happens to be kind of like every kind of conspiracy theorist thing. We're going to study this, and it's like, good. I hope they do study it, right? And the lefties and the left libertarians, the people who are really mad about this, they're like, he thinks vaccines cause autism. It's like, yeah, I know he probably does, but he just says that he doesn't right now. But he said it in the past he does. But he's just gotten a lot better at kind of hiding some of his stuff that he believes, right? And listen, I know there's a sizable coalition, part of the coalition, the MAGA coalition, that believes that stuff. They're really behind Kennedy. They want to make America healthy again. And I think broadly everybody in the coalition does want to make America healthy again. But quite frankly, and I know this isn't popular, but I'm glad that the guy who is in charge is the guy who feeds people McDonald's when they go to. This is the United States, baby. You want to eat health food? That's fine. You live in California. Do you see that picture of that chick from, God, what European state? It's all becoming, we're so ignoring Europe in so many ways. I mean, it's becoming an authoritarian hellhole. Germany is going back to being Germany again, which is completely unsurprising. In a weird, twisted, gay way. It's like they're Nazis, but they're like gay Nazis. You know what I'm saying? It's like springtime for Hitler over there in Germany again. But instead of like the swastika, it's the gay pride flag, right? That means, you must obey the gays. Everything missing but the mustache. Did you see that minister in some European country who wants to ban X? I saw people were sharing. I didn't get too deep into the story. I just saw like her skin is like pinched, but it's also like sagging off of her face because she's so vegan that she's not unhealthy, right? She looks skeletal. With the first glance, when you see someone like that, you're like, oh, that's anorexia. No, it's not anorexia. Well, I guess it kind of is a form of anorexia, but they're so vegan that her skin is pinched and falling off her bones. I'm not going to look for the pictures and pull them up for you. You can find them if you want to. But I'm just saying that it's America first, because the rest of the world is gone and is going to hell. But we don't have to. America is an enormous nation. We've got from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies. Does everybody remember the words? Camellia thinks that should be the national anthem, and she's going to join us at 8 a.m. Central today. I have to say, I agree. Yes, we're going to talk about the thousands of layoffs expected to start hitting the IRS today. Tonight won't be just any night. Austin, you're gay, musical theater. How dare you? We're all Nazis and super not homoerotic guys who shared pictures of their ripped chest now. The GOP can't take any of that gay shit anymore, Austin. Well, you're going to have to take some gay shit, because here's the thing. The Kennedy Center, the bastion of gayness, is been taken over by the Trump administration, and goodness knows it needed to happen. I mean, obviously, musical theater is gay as hell, and theater is gay as hell, and to an extent, movies are gay as hell, right? To a certain extent. But now that the Trump administration has come in, they said they want to get rid of wokeness. I agree. And I was talking to my brother, Justin, about this yesterday. We're having a really good, deep conversation last night about the takeover of the Kennedy Center and what this means for the arts, for the culture of the United States. This is a very important event happening right now. It's sort of going unnoticed underneath our eyes. But for those who are patrons of the arts, people who appreciate art and who are steeped in American culture, you have to understand that, I mean, he's struck a blow at almost I would say the brain, maybe it's the brain but not the heart, but New York City is really the heart of the cultural theatrical movement in the United States, and a lot of creativity, of course, comes out of New York City. But in Washington, D.C., of course, there's the Kennedy Center. And I've been to shows at the Kennedy Center. It's a beautiful theater and a venue. And of course, for those of you who know me, you already know that my background is on the stage. My background is from theater, specifically musical theater for my degree. And I spent my early career doing, a little bit of everything, writing plays, directing plays, winning awards. I'm an award-winning playwright. I don't talk about that a whole lot these days. I've written plays in a number of years or done stage productions, but I still enjoy them, and I still appreciate them. I mean, the great minds of Western civilization, the people who said everything about philosophy that there ever was to say, right? Aristotle, Plato, all of these ancient greats wrote plays, and modern revolutionaries, and when I say modern, I'm talking about like the 1700s, modern revolutionaries, they also wrote plays. Voltaire, Tartuffe, right? Satires. It was in many ways, it was one of the only ways you could criticize the king, right? The jesters, if you will. And Justin and I were talking about this event and what it means, noting that Justin and I, both creatures of the stage and both creatures of the entertainment world, we both believe that woke has to go. Woke has, in many ways, perverted an already perverse practice. And when I say already perverse, keep it gay, keep it gay, keep it gay. I mean, in a way, it is inextricable from the arts itself. If you've ever seen the movie Moulin Rouge, I like to, when I talk about the theater with people who may not be big theater people, if you've ever seen the movie Moulin Rouge and you consider like those characters and how they are, they're misfits, vagabonds, prostitutes, pimps, the Moulin Rouge. It is inextricable from the art form that you have the dregs, the castaways, the misfits. You can't have a freak show without freaks. And certainly nobody likes to watch a production where someone is just completely put together. And I mean, when I say no one, I say that there are certainly genres of people where it's like, the stoic ideal of a character, but most characters have flaws. And most of the time when you want to watch someone on a stage, you want to watch someone who has something at stake. They have to have, it's like that Nietzsche quote, one must have chaos within oneself in order to give birth to a dancing star. And this applies in the theatrical world, which is a world of chaos. Right? And as a libertarian, someone who believes in planned chaos to an aspect, the chaos of the theater, the chaos of the stage, it is the satire, it is the revolution, it is the voice, it is the vox populi in many ways. Or at least it used to be before it turned woke, and it now just serves an activist agenda rather than commentary, biting social commentary. It has become sort of regime oriented, and a shakeup was necessary. Donald Trump has taken over the Kennedy Center, and now those people in the arts community, they don't know what to do. So noting that Camellia is, I would say, someone who has a good taste for aesthetics and for music and for arts and culture, I think Camellia is a good person to talk about that at 8 o'clock today. As you can tell, I have a lot to say about it. And thankfully, that's why you watch the Wake Up America show, because you're going to get something that's a little bit different, right? The shows that are on Rumble that are live right now that have thousands and thousands of streamers and stuff like that, they're going to cover you're going to get all these other shows. They're going to cover the immigration stuff, the ASMR with the manacles and the shackles and all. You're going to get them covering the Euro stuff, and they're going to show the picture of the lady whose face is sagging because she's a vegan. You're going to get all that kind of stuff from other shows. You get something a little different from the Wake Up America show. Yes, we are right-leaning. Yes, we are Republicans. Yes, I would say yes, we are, but I mean, speak to everybody in the network, but certainly I am. I'm a libertarian Republican, or a liberty Republican, we call ourselves. And so is John Dennis, who is the chair of the Republican Party of California, and he is joining us live at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. We got an awesome guest today for you. So we got two awesome guests for you in the second hour. Camellia and I are going to talk a little bit about the Kennedy Center. We're going to talk about the de-wokeification of the arts. And then at 8:30 this morning, we're going to talk about John Dennis, who has a fantastic proposal today. We're going to make to you all. And we're going to speak to him about Senator Rand Paul endorsing Donald Trump. And what that means for liberty Republicans and where the liberty movement is in terms of the split between people who still think we need a libertarian party versus act as sort of a wedge against the major two parties when they get out of line. I'm not on board with that idea, but there are people who believe that, and I can see it as a legitimate strategy, and I did think it was a legitimate strategy one time, but I've since changed my mind. And we're going to talk to John Dennis about where the Liberty Republicans are in the current timeline. Marie Edenbow over there in the chat, I see you, says the show hosts shirts are entertaining our own. See, that's kind of part of the fun, right? We get to have a good time in the morning and get to smile and feel good. Floby Tenderson says, I don't mind gays. Don't men make being gay their entire identity. Those loud flamers are just woke fire hydrants. Many of them are. And it's something to consider, though. Like, you got to be careful if you're going to speak from outside the art world about kind of how the stage works and like intrinsically the what it is, what is it intrinsically, because my critique of American culture, this is going to be a very Vivek Ramaswamy thing, but since I'm not an Indian or anything, you know, I'm a heritage American. I think it'll probably smack differently coming from me. But one of the problems of American culture is that it has a divorce between their warriors and their poets. And we have so policed American sexuality and male sexuality. We've policed it to the nth degree of this is what you must do to be a man. And I always rebel against like arbitrary rules that people place on top of me, just because I'm like Thomas Jefferson in the sense that I have sworn eternal hostility against every form of tyranny against them over the minds of man. And there's a tyranny over the minds of men in this country. And I'm talking about the sex. There's a tyranny over the minds of men in policing, and it's through the sexuality. It's policing through the sexuality. So it's a bullying abuse that has divorced men from being capable of reaching our true potential, like the great ancient philosophers who wrote plays and used plays as satire. I mean, for God's sakes, Arthur Miller, even the 1950s, right? So the great men of society have always like dabbled in the stage, right? Or many of the great men of a culture are those who can speak through the stage. David Mamet, maybe. He's actually gone more conservative these days, which is fascinating. I got to meet him when I lived in New York City for the second time. Have you ever read, I'm sorry, you haven't read, but have you seen Glenn Ross, the movie, at least the most recent one? Great film. It's the one with Alec Baldwin where he's talking about coffees for closers, right? You need big brass balls to sell real estate. Speaking of big balls, we are going to talk about Elon Musk's DOGE and the firing of the IRS employees as well. But since it's my show, you have to put up with my tangents, and it's coming to a point. So the point is that the divorce between the warrior class and the artistic class, I think, is detrimental to our country. If you have your fighting done by warriors, what is that? The society that separates its scholars. Here it is. This is a famous quote from Thucydides. Speaking of the great, I'm really taking it back to ancient Greece here this morning on the Wake Up America show. Thucydides, the society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting by fools. There it is. And have we not had our fighting done by fools? Our fighting certainly has been done by fools, and that is the last thing that we need. I mean, in terms of foreign policy, have we not, in many ways, since World War II, have we not had our fighting done by fools? Or is it a coincidence where these men are just, these brutes are not also men of arts and letters? You need the Marines. You need your jarheads. But there's a reason why, and they know very well why they go and they serve out there on the front lines. And it's pretty clear. And if you go and visit any of the U.S. Marine Corps Museum in Quantico, Virginia, I've been like 6 times. It's freaking amazing. It's one of the best museums ever. Then you too will understand the necessity of the brutes in society. But the brutes are not to rule. The brutes are not to rule. You do not let Conan the Barbarians rule society, because you can have Conan the Barbarian, but he has to be literate. He has to know how to read. So Grok released its newest AI, Grok 3. I haven't had a chance to test it yet, so why don't we test it live on air? You guys want to do a quick little experiment here? want you guys to see something interesting about how these AI tools can be spun. So I want you to help me analyze the following quote in real time while I have you here live on my Wake Up America show. Here we go. Let's see how Grok 3 does. They're saying it's revolutionary. All right, I'm here live with you on the Wake of America show, Grok says. Let's dive into this Thucydides quote. The society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting by fools. It's a banger, isn't it? Classic Thucydides, straight to the point, no fluff. Let's break it down in real time. First of all, Thucydides was an ancient Greek historian, the guy who wrote the history of the Peloponnesian War. He's not just tossing out random hot takes. This comes from the dude who lived through war, saw Athens and Sparta slug it out, and knew the stakes of societal decisions. So there's a weight behind this. The core idea here is about integration, or the lack of it. He's saying a society that silos its brain trust, the scholars, from its muscle, the warriors, is setting itself up for failure. Why? Because if your thinkers don't understand the gritty reality of conflict, they'll make decisions from a place of fear or detachment, cowardly thinking. Meanwhile, if your fighters don't get the bigger picture, the strategy, the why behind the fight, they're just swinging blindly, foolish action. Think about it practically. Imagine a modern example. If your military generals never talk to your policy wonks, you might get brilliant theories that don't survive contact with reality. Or worse, troops deployed without a clue about the end game. It's like sending a football team into the field with no playbook and a coach who's never seen the game. Chaos, right? So, live on your show, here's a real-time question for you guys. Are we separating too much today? Are our scholars, the academics, the pundits, too far from the front lines of life? Are our warriors, soldiers, first responders, even everyday grinders left out of the big debates? Thucydides is warning us. Don't let the disconnect grow or we're screwed. What do you guys think? You want to riff more on this? We will. It says, tie it to something happening now. Let's see what Grok has to say. It's going to search the news and it's going to tie it to a story, pulling up 15 web pages. All right, here we are, unpacking this Thucydides gem. Let's tie it to something ripping through the headlines right now, February 20th, 2025. How about the escalating drone wars and AI-driven conflicts we're seeing globally? Perfect fit. Look at what's happening. Nations like the US, China, Russia pouring billions into autonomous weapons, drones, AI tanks, you name it. But here's the rub. The scholars, the engineers, coders, and AI PhDs are holed up in Silicon Valley or Shenzhen labs, dreaming up algorithms, while the warriors, the boots on the ground, are out there facing the real-world mess these machines create. The disconnect is glaring. The eggheads design weapons that can pick targets faster than you can blink, but they're not the ones dodging shrapnel or making split-second calls when the AI glitches. Meanwhile, soldiers are struck executing plans they didn't shape, sometimes with tools they don't fully trust or understand. Take Ukraine's drone swarm tactics against Russia. Reports are flooding in about how cheap, jury-rigged drones are outmaneuvering tanks. Brilliant stuff, but who's driving it? Tech-savvy volunteers and startups are churning out innovations while the frontline grunts adapt on the fly. The scholars and warriors are kind of talking, but it's messy, ad hoc. Not the tight integration Thucydides is hinting at. The risk. If the techies don't grasp the chaos of war, fear, fog, human stakes, they might push systems that look great on a screen, but crumble in the mud. And if the fighters don't get a say in the strategy, they're just pawns, not players, fools in the fray. That, ladies and gentlemen, is wizard's chess. Actually, that is Grok 3, and I'm looking forward to playing with that a little bit later. Are you guys using AI at all in your jobs? I'd be curious to hear from you. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. If you send us a text, you can have your voice heard on the show today. And don't forget to visit forlibertyshop.com. Get yourself some excellent Gulf of America merch. Somebody said yesterday how incredible the towels were, the Gulf of America beach towels, which I think you guys will love as well. So check out our reviews over at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4 libertyshop.com. Listeners have been texting in as of yesterday saying happy birthday and asking for their secret codes is because what are the secret codes? People say the secret codes are what you get for being a monthly subscriber to the Wake Up America show. And if you are a monthly subscriber to the Wake Up America show, either on Rumble or on our website at wakeupAmericaShow.com, you get a 20% discount to forlibertyshop.com. So when you buy neat stuff like the Gulf of America tumbler or beach towel, then you get a 20% discount there at the shop. So are we ready to talk about the news? Good morning, Cell Blocked. Hi, Joni Rankin, Quest Fanning, Mongoose 87, and BB for Liberty. Great to see you guys here. Thank you so much for joining us live here on the Wake Up America show. Please do click the like button if you have not already. And if today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, maybe you're a regular, maybe you're a not, but we haven't got your follow, then please do click the follow button as well. Sign of Jonah here in the chat. He writes some beautiful music, says, AP, I used Grok to make images for a music video. I gave Frog an extra eyeball on its rump. What the hell was that? Liberty Tonight. What's up, fellas? Liberty Tonight. They'll be on tonight. It is Thursday, after all. DOGE is searching for wasteful spending. It isn't hard to find. It's one of Washington's most persistent and challenging problems. It's a problem. The federal government misspends at least $100 billion each year out of its multi-trillion-dollar budget. Identifying the wasteful outlays isn't the hardest part. It's actually doing something about it. Yes, it is. So this is the thing. We've been talking for years about limiting government, and it's one thing to talk. It's another thing to actually get the job done. Every year, agencies' reports posted online document billions in improper payments, which include fraud. That's all got to go. But also underpayments, duplicate payments, payments to ineligible recipients, or for ineligible goods or services. According to the GAO, Government Accountability Office, they can also include correctly paid amounts that didn't follow regulations, such as a contract missing the required signature. But we've been talking about AI this morning. One of the miracles of AI is that the new AI tools have made it possible to read contracts quickly. It's certainly one of the best things that AI has been able to do for my business is to help me write legal contracts. If you didn't go to business school like I didn't, you actually with AI have basically a Harvard Business School graduate who works for you full time, almost for free. We pay for a lot of the AI tools we use here, but you can use these platforms to supplement any weakness. If you weren't so good at math, if you weren't great at, if you didn't go to law school, right? If you can have AI act as a digital assistant. Imagine if you had someone working for you that could work for you full time, night and day, 24 hours a day, every minute. So you could have someone working for you to help you to make money, to do the things that are necessary that you don't want to do. All you have to do is tell it what to do, give it the tasks. That's what AI is. So we're going to have a revolution in government because these DOGE Zoomer kids, these DOGE kids, are using AI for its intended purpose. It's reading contracts. It's going through and finding out all of this information that would have taken us weeks or months or years tied up in bureaucratic red tape, to people trying to stop you and undermine you from gaining access to things. Now that the DOGE Zoomers have access to the records, as long as they're digitized, they can run their AI searches. They can send out the little bots, the spiders, to find the information that they need, the indiscrepancies, and bring that information in. It's like a query. It's like a search. Well, you know how you use Windows and you go down and do the search and you want to find something on your computer. Hopefully you've got it set so that it actually finds something on your computer rather than doing a web search using Microsoft Bing. We hate you, Bing. Would please go away. Or Microsoft Edge, is that what their browser is? God, I hate so much that they integrated their browser into the search bar in Windows. It sucks so much. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. I'm sure you do too. Everybody who hates Microsoft's search engines. Give it up in the chat. Whoop, whoop. So now we have AI able to go in and access these records in a way that would have taken a human being or a team of human being, God knows how long, to actually gain access to it. And because of this, we can find the waste, the fraud, and the abuse fast. We can find it quickly, right? DOGE is searching for wasteful spending. It's not hard to find. It's very much out in the open. Now, juxtapose this. I mean, this is one thing, that we're finding the waste, fraud, and abuse. Juxtapose this with another story, and I will tell you that we're living maybe through potentially the most libertarian moment in my entire life. I'm 44 years old yesterday. Happy birthday. And it's got to be the most libertarian era that I think we've ever seen. I mean, it's a MAGA libertarianism, which when I posted that yesterday on X, it made some people very upset. I'll explain that. How many federal workers has DOGE laid off? I'm reading this headline in The Hill. It's talking about past tense. Past tense. I mean, think about future headlines. If somebody had said before the election, before Trump got elected, let's give you some future headlines. Well, here they are. How many federal workers has DOGE laid off? Past tense. Or how about this headline? If somebody had given you from the future, if a time traveler had come back before Trump got elected last fall and given you a headline from Politico that says thousands of layoffs expected to start hitting the IRS on Thursday. Today, Junior. Would you have believed it? Future headlines. The IRS intends to begin laying off 6,000 employees starting Thursday as part of the job cuts slicing through the federal government. That means people have been in their jobs for less than 1 year, or in some cases 2 years, depending on their position. They are bye, bye, bye. I don't want to be a fool for you. Don't want to be a player in your game or two. You might hate me, but it ain't no lie. Bye, bye, bye. Cecilia, you might have been hurt, babe. That ain't no lie. And Tyga, what's up, brother? Nice to see you again, man. We miss you when you're not here, or lady, whoever you are, man or girl. Don't want to misgender. Joni Rankin, what's up? Signer Jonah. We're all hanging out this morning with InJam77. It's nice to see and hear. Liberty Tonight show just reminded me of my folly. It looks like I have double booked my 8:30 hour, and you hate to see it. So I'm going to take a quick break. I've been going for 45 minutes anyway, and let me fix this situation, guys, and we will be right back on the Wake Up America show. We got Camellia at 8. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise compromise your principles for a cup of coffee. Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Thanks for hanging out. We could not miss the opportunity to speak to our benevolent dictator, the one who is in charge of us all. Well, maybe, is he one step below Donald Trump on the ladder? I think, yes, because Trump is emperor, and then you have the king of the libertarian kingdom, because Trump is the emperor of us all. He's the emperor of MAGA, which makes him the emperor of libertarianism, but he's also the emperor of the national conservative movement. He's the emperor of the neocons, whether they like it or not. He's the emperor over us all. But in our world, in libertarianism proper, in our kingdom, we have a king. That man is the king of us all, but like I said, he is a benevolent dictator. He's joining us live right now, the king of all libertarians and the host of Liberty Tonight, starting tonight, 9 p.m. Central Time, rumble.com/Liberty Tonight. Good morning, Your Majesty, Your Grace.
Good morning, fellow peasants of Austin's, and yes, I agree. I see us as co-equal as the distribution of the three branches of government in your follied republic system that is inferior to the monarchy. But you guys got to come back around to it. But our ancestors, they kind of messed it up a little bit. but I'm going to bring it back for the 21st century. So
Now, Your Majesty, many of us, like yourself, were, we consider ourselves to be libertarians. We live in a libertarian world, but we're not lawbertarians, right? They are the outcasts. We have pushed them to the drag. We pushed them to the outskirts of our society. They can live in our society,
the
but
hall monitor libertarians.
Yes, we've pushed them to the side because we have joined forces with the emperor, right? Emperor Trump. And notably, one person in our tribe who had not gotten on board, I wouldn't say necessarily hall monitor libertarian, but Senator Rand Paul threw his banner in with House Trump along with the rest of us. So is he now fully out of the hall monitor libertarian like barrio that we've placed these people in?
So there's a good distinction because Rand was quiet, right? He was Switzerland of the libertarians. He and maybe it's a little too late. Maybe he hedged his bets a little too much, in this endorsement, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months after the fact. Whatever the case may be. But no. So Rand is a different breed of libertarian. I wouldn't call him hall monitor because the hall monitors screech no matter what. If Rand was a hall monitor libertarian, which there was a slight twinge of that at the very end, but he recognizes all the good that Trump's been doing, and then says, like, on this little sliver, the whole what did he say at the end? The Gaza thing or whatever, but that little portion, like, I don't like, but everything else Trump is doing is great. Keep going, blah blah blah. So that's a totally different distinction from the hall monitors. The hall monitors, they just focus on the little tiny sliver that's bad and try to discount everything else that's good. Like you were saying earlier in your show, the future headline, and that is now the past. How many federal workers have been laid off in the first couple of months? So Rand, you've escaped this moniker for now.
Your Grace, Rand Paul getting on board has been criticized by many people who say, "Oh, Johnny come lately," and he seems to be a sincere convert. But the real danger is that a lot of the people who surround Trump, I have seen, right, could end up being like the people from his first administration in that they stabbed him in the back. There's a lot of potential people who are probably just angling, grifting, we like to say, in the kingdom writ large. But there's a lot of people who probably are getting on board just as an opportunity to protect their political careers. And many of them are attractive women, for example, who are looking for paydays. For example, I know you as a king probably have a lot of women who desire thy seed in order to trap thee into, I don't know, is there child support in our kingdom? I haven't checked the laws that you've written.
Yeah, I mean, if you
I think you get where I'm going on this.
Yeah, even if your last name is Snow, you still have the seed is strong, as they would say in the Game of Thrones. So you're bound by blood and glory there. But Rand, you look at the history, right? He's never been one to do the popular thing. So maybe this is just the ultimate contrarian moment where he could have endorsed Trump, or before the election. It was way less risky to do it versus the other times he endorsed Trump. So maybe this is just a grand troll of Rand, just to be the contrarian that he is to say, I knew he would be good. I knew he would win the election. He didn't need my endorsement to win the election, but now that he won, he's doing good things. I guess I'll do it now. So, I mean, Rand, like I said, Rand has never been one to try to do the popular and grifter thing. So I give him the benefit of the doubt on this one.
Your Majesty, have you been following the baby mama drama surrounding Sir Elon Musk?
Yes, him and I are in similar predicaments. Dozens and dozens of children, a baker's dozen. What is that? 2 + 2 + 2 + 2. I don't know math very well. I just know how to run a kingdom. But yeah, it's interesting. I said you need to be more judicious with your concubines. They are receiving the royal seed, so they need to be worthy of it. and knocking up a professional social media shit starter. Probably should have thought of that one again. When her whole job is grifting and getting attention online, you literally gave her the keys to the kingdom. Pun intended there.
These professional social media shit-stirring females, they desire the seed of the clouted man. For them, a blue check mark is like $100 bill. If you've ever posted your ex earnings to the public and they're over $1,000, you can rest assured that thine DMs will be full of these hoes over there.
It does beg the question of other mysterious payout people like Tiffany Fong. You mix Elon with the Asian, that might be just the smartest person alive. Yeah, who knows?
Sire, the rumors are that in order to receive the king's coin, that the citizenry would have to join Elon Musk's concubine army. It did feel as if on the social network, ye old social networks, that there was a bit of a caste system.
Yes. Lie with the king and you'll get his fleas, which happen to bite X gold. Elon, just one benevolent dictator to another. Just be more judicious with your concubines. They will be oracles. They will be raised on high and be in your court forever. So watch out for the grifters. Watch out for the crazy eyes. Stay away from anybody that chooses to advance their position.
Yeah.
Like the other ones, Grimes is, she's famous on her own one, but the other ones, you never even heard of them. Quiet. Low key, just
as the maidens fair were meant to be.
Don't pick a girl that's gonna outpace you or outshine you, the richest man on earth. That's really hard to do, and you found one that could do it. So you know what? He's literally reaching for the stars. So who am I to say? Maybe there's in the contract they're meant to go to Mars with him. So maybe we'll get rid of these folks one way or another.
Your Grace, you bless us, truly, you bless us with your presence today in the light of the seven. I ask Your Grace one final request, if thou wilt. Please give us a sneak preview, a future headline, if you will, from your most excellent show, Liberty Tonight, which will be tonight from 9 to 11 p.m. We want everyone in the kingdom to join us tonight at rumble.com/libertarian tonight. Will you please, Your Grace, honor us with a future headline?
Yes, on the show tonight, it'll be 877 cash now, 877 cash now. Hopefully we will be celebrating the confirmation of the great Cash Patel. We will also have top 10 things to blow your DOGE dividends on. Those $5,000 stimmies that may be coming here. We may also have the dictator of Ukraine calling in to discuss his displeasure with the MAGA movement, and I don't know, some other surprises from tonight. So it's gonna be a great show. Like Austin said, every Thursday 9 to 11 Central, Liberty Tonight, where freedom never sleeps, with my co-host Brian Piotr. So it'll be a great show tonight.
Your Majesty, we appreciate you very much. Thank you for your blessings. Your presence is the light. Your presence is the light of the world. Have a wonderful day. What do you guys think? The king of all libertarians. I'm just thankful that he would take time out of his busy schedule to join us here. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Camellia Peterson coming up next. Just full of great guests today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about Trump taking over the Kennedy Center, talk about DOGE, all of the good stuff happening with the IRS. It's the Wake Up America Show on the 4 Liberty Network.
the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian, and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and that's the For Liberty Network. So tonight, when you watch the benevolent dictator, the king of all libertarians, you'll be watching him on the For Liberty Network. His show is at rumble.com/liberty tonight. He and Brian Piotr, they will give you all of the fun and funny that you need from 9 to 11 p.m. Central Time at rumble.com/liberty tonight. We're taking it back to Renaissance Festival. Someone sent me a text. They said, "Do you like pizza and games, little boy? Squeeze me?" I said, "Yes, lol. Obviously I do." I didn't quite get what he was going for there, but now I think I get it. He said, "Me too." But he said, "I like the plaid and a solid colors. You look perfectly fine and fuckable. These big bright patterns, it looks like you're trying to lure little kids at an ice cream truck. Excuse me?" When a man says I look fuckable, I don't know if that makes me want to actually Where are those kinds of things? It's the Wake Up America show. Let's have Camellia talk about that and more. No, I'm just kidding. Camellia, welcome to the Wake Up America show.
Morning. Wow.
You never know what kind of intro you're going to get here.
Yes. What do you say about that?
Well, I like the big bright pattern shirts, but apparently my friend does not. He thinks that he doesn't want to have intercourse with me when I wear shirts like these. He is accusing me of sordid things.
I mean, you can't be everybody's cup of tea, right?
That's right, but I can be everybody's cup of Founding Flavors coffee.
That's right, 100%.
Camellia, there's so many huge stories today, and I mean, I have a lot to say about the whole Kennedy Center thing. Justin and I had a really fascinating conversation about it. Did you happen to hear it earlier when I was talking about it at all on the show? Did you miss it?
Oh, no, I missed that.
Okay, so I just kind of went into the details of a conversation Justin and I were having about the removal of other board members from the Kennedy Center. Like what I had a conversation earlier about this Thucydides quote, which was essentially about a nation that has its fighting done by the society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and fighting by fools, which is really kind of the heart of this conversation. But I wonder what you thought of this. There was a rumor that, the Gay Men's Choir, the Pride performance featuring the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington was canceled. They said it was due to scheduling conflicts. They, somebody wondered if they actually canceled it themselves or if they were canceled. But it's going to be, de-wokeification needs to happen in the arts, but it's also like, it's intrinsically gay in many ways. So how do you take the gay out of musical theater? I don't know if you can.
Come now. I mean, Shakespeare, all the men used to play the roles. Well, wait, maybe, maybe we should use that example either. I don't know. Maybe things stay the same the more they change, they stay the same. I don't like. So supposedly too, this decision was made before Trump came into office, supposedly. Okay, so funding and scheduling, I don't know. But one of the things that jumped out to me when I read that was it said something about that they were replacing it with the Wizard of Oz. And they said, and that also fits in very well with Gay Pride Month or whatever. Now, and I was just a little confused about that.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well,
what do you mean you're confused? You're confused about the Wizard of Oz being completely suitable for a replacement of a gay event?
I don't understand why the Wizard of Oz is a gay thing. I mean,
are you sure? Okay, well, I guess I don't really think we have I don't know that I could teach a course on that, but I mean, I don't know. I've only got a few.
I guess I still need to take that one.
Yeah. Wizard of Oz basically was adopted by the gay community as like their anthem because of the music and the songs, of course, that the gays like love to sing. And many of you'll see in drag shows, one of the most common characters that you'll frequently see will be characters from the Wizard of Oz. Usually it's gay men dressed up as Dorothy. And it became so prevalent that, have you ever been on a cruise, Camellia? So if you go on a cruise ever, they will usually have a meeting, and it used to be that they had to be kind of underground about it, but now it's more of an official event on the cruise. But you will always find a Friends of Dorothy event. And so if you are, it's how you like identify, it's how they identify one another. So if you are a friend of Dorothy, it's kind of like, how the Christians used to have the fish symbol, and they would do the half fish, and then the other Christian would show the half fish. This is kind of the same kind of thing. It's a symbol, an underground symbol, so that you don't get murdered. But it was Friends of Dorothy, and if you go on a cruise, they have the Friends of Dorothy meeting. It's the gay meeting, because they're the Friends of Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz, because everyone knows that the Wizard of Oz has been adopted by the gay community as like their anthem.
Well, not everyone, apparently.
Well, I mean, Camellia.
Camellia did not know.
Well, you remind me a lot of Stephanie in many ways because, you've been touched by the darkness of the world in many ways. Like, you've only now recently, especially since you became a lobbyist, started to get into, like, you know, the darkness, the true darkness of the world.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the Moulin Rouge, the Kennedy Center. I mean, have you ever seen a show at the Kennedy Center?
I have not.
Yes. One day we should go. We should maybe when we're there for the APDC Liberty Tour, if we can snag some tickets. We'll call somebody in the White House now that we know somebody there, and we'll see if we can get us some tickets to the Kennedy Center show while we're there. It's an interesting problem. We need to de-wokeify the arts, yes, but not having gays in theater, I'm pretty sure, is not going to happen.
Right. So, this course, you know, you go down all kinds of rabbit trails when you talk about this issue, because then you have these national centers that the government, you know, creates, like the Kennedy Center is in statute. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, how much should the government be involved? Like, we've talked about this before. Should government buildings be beautiful? Like, should government be involved in the arts and in, you know, and in that cultural aspect of our lives? Because it is true that government has created or had a hand in a lot of the beautiful things that we have in our cultural, that are national icons as well. And so is this a good idea? And if we are going to have those, then who gets to decide what kind of content that they put out? And does that change from administration to administration? It kind of seems so.
Mm. In terms of the Descendant over on YouTube is asking tour ? Yeah, we're all going to Washington, D.C. for a Liberty tour, if you didn't know. I am leading a 3-day tour of Washington, D.C., May 1st through the 3rd. And you can sign up for it at our website, forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. My friend says, while talking about Dorothy, the light hits your hair just right to look purple. Yes, the purple-haired freaks, the ones who have turned the arts into an agenda. Like, you can't see a Hollywood movie anymore. I know, again, you're not big on film, but you can't see a new film these days, or, you know, see one that's advertised on Netflix or whatever, that it doesn't seem to have some nefarious left-wing agenda.
Yeah, I think that in the name of ideology, a lot of creativity has been lost, which is why I think that we see really declining profit margins in Hollywood and the movies they put out. What was the one? Trying to remember the movie that they did a remake of, like, and it's constant remakes anymore too, right? But they did what was the remake that just came out? And they lost a ton of money on it. And it's because they try to take it and they try to, you know, fit it into, you know, an ideological box that doesn't fit the original story, and it ruins it. So I think we see this over and over again. And with the Kennedy Center, like, it was fascinating to me to hear about how that, you know, they fired the whole board and Trump's replacing them and putting himself in as the chair. And what does that mean for the things that they select? I know that there was a big deal about, you know, the drag shows and things like that, but I don't know. I think to a certain extent, you have to draw a line somewhere, and it's going to be subjective. And when you talk about the drag shows, okay, like, do you remember when they had the drag show queen protest at the Missouri State Capitol?
Yes.
Yeah, and I can't even remember. It's been a few years ago now, and I can't even remember why they were protesting specifically. I do think that in the beginning, you know, the right was protesting wholesale against drag queen anything, and they weren't making any distinction with, you know, the role of kids in that. And so I think that there was backlash, and it made them look, you know, bigoted in that sense. But the longer these things went on, the more evident it became that there really was an agenda to target children and to allow them to be in very risque drag queen shows. And so you saw things like this that were held in the Kennedy Center, and all of a sudden it became a litmus test, right? And so that, to me, and anymore, like, it's become such a thing that when you see the drag queen stuff, just different competitions or whatever that they try to promote at the community level in different places, like, the pictures are like, they're not even trying. There's no art to it. It's just they're trying to make a point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm speaking to Camelia Peterson this morning on the Wake Up America show. Click the like button if you have not already. And if you are enjoying the conversation and today is your first time joining us, then click the follow button as well and come back and join us Mondays through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Camelia, I would like to play a little game with you. Would you like to play a little game with me?
It's pretty early for games, but let's give it a try.
It's called React. It's called Live Reactions. And the live reaction is you're going to live react to my tweet. I'm going to read one of my tweets to you. And you will be able to react to it live. I want you to say agree, agree, disagree, whatever it is, however you'd like to react to it. Here's what I tweeted yesterday. I reposted Senator Rand Paul's decision to endorse Donald Trump. And I reposted it and said, MAGA libertarianism is the dominant force in American politics now. It's not conservatism, and it's barely even populism. Your reaction?
I mean, my reaction is that I think you're right, and that astounds me because I honestly did not I had low expectations. Because I mean, you only have to go on what you've seen before. And to me, it was really important who Trump had around him. And so, I was hopeful, but to the extent that it has happened. And, when we're talking about things like publicly talking about Ron Paul and the Federal Reserve and all of that's, who would have ever thought we would have ever seen that in our lifetimes? I know the whole libertarian thing was liberty in my lifetime, blah, 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 blah. But that was never going to happen without this particular set of circumstances and this president.
Yeah, I have a marble plaque outside the front of my house. You've seen it. It says, Liberty by sunset, baby. Sunset. Today, Junior. Okay, so in the same vein, I reposted Nick Fuentes. He said that the Trump revolution was about building a border wall, mass deportations, and getting America out of the Middle East. Now it's about AI and budget cuts. I reposted him and I said, libertarianism won on accident. We didn't intend to, but it sounds like we're winning.
Groyper's big mad.
Big mad, yeah, right?
Yeah, isn't it so funny? Because what's funny is so many of the people who I guess we're wanting to see all of the authoritarian side of conservative priorities brought to fruition, that they're turning on their Lord and Savior because he's not doing exactly what they wanted him to do. And it's funny how that happens. But no, there's been very he's still doing the border wall thing. So I don't know what the complaint there is. I think, at this point, I think part of this too is that you just those people have to look for something to be mad about, because that's the only way that attention is currency. It's the only way they can generate attention is to be the most outrageous online. And so the way to do that now and to be countercultural now is to gripe about the current president and all the good things he's doing that they say are bad.
Okay, so we're doing Camelia Reacts. Camelia is live reacting to my tweets. Here's a tweet I reposted 13 hours ago. The story from the Washington Examiner is Catholic bishops sue Trump administration for lost income after refugee aid stopped. My repost of that, I said, Requiescat in pace. Your reaction?
This made me laugh because I was just like, wow, this is literally like the Catholic Church saying, why did you take us off the government teat, right? I mean, loss of revenue, is this about serving the people, or is this about how much money you can make? What is the role of the church? That was really crazy sounding to me.
It is so insane that the government was literally funding religion to do things opposed to American interests. It's pure flat out evil, pure plain evil. And it's interesting too, because so much of the dominant discourse now is coming from traditionalist Catholics in the MAGA sphere. and they have to deal with this. It's very painful for them, I can imagine, personally, being, you know, many of them, of course, being so restrictionist when it comes to immigration, to have to turn around and, you know, sort of level their fire back at their own parishioners in the Catholic Church who have been, you know, working against our interests this entire time and using government money to do it. They become very libertarian, don't they?
Right. So here I think is one of the giant red flags for anybody looking at any kind of religious organization or a church is if they take money from the government. Because consistently, time after time, inevitably, the churches who do that, it comes out like we saw during COVID here in Missouri. You had some churches, some religious organizations that were taking that money from that pandemic money from the government that they were supposed to be using to distribute lunches to kids because they weren't able to get the food supplements from school. And so lo and behold, you know, it wasn't really funding any of the food. It was funding $1 million mansions and helicopters and everything else, and so much fraud. So yeah, any kind of church or religious organization taking money from the government should be an enormous red flag.
Yeah, I saw Aaron McIntyre posted the meme. In reposting this, he posted this meme. Have you? I know I'm asking. I shouldn't even ask. Have you seen Gangs of New York by any chance? Okay, so you would actually really enjoy that movie. It's another Scorsese film, but it's about the battles between the Irish Catholic and the Protestant, like the nativists, like anti-immigrationists, who were against the Catholic immigrationists who wanted to bring more Irish Catholics to the United States. It's about the gang wars that occurred. We're talking like the Civil War period in the United States, and the conflict between Protestantism and Catholicism. It doesn't really. It hadn't gotten a lot of play. I felt as if there was a bit of a ceasefire when we were growing up between like the 80s and 90s and the aughts, between the Protestants and the Catholics, but the immigration sentiments of the time right now, and with the flagrant Marxism of the Pope Francis, who may not live to see another sunrise. The flagrant Marxism has driven a wedge now between Protestantism and Catholicism here in the modern discourse, has it not?
Sure. Oh, I mean, it's even divided Catholics because, I mean, ever since he, was named the Pope, like there's been constant dissension in the church for people who are diehard Catholics who do not like him and what he brought to the church. So yeah, this is the problem with, tying government and religion together. And I think that there's, we see with, and I know, like Christian nationalism is the word that people are going to get upset about that. But people who are truly Christian nationalists are people who truly believe that the government has a role in, maybe not establishing religion, but promoting religion in the country and in the culture through law. And can you just you look at things like this, and can you imagine what the eventual outcome of that would be? We don't have to imagine. We've seen it over and over through history.
Yeah. There was a quote, I can't remember which founding father said it, but it was talking about like the purity of religion and of government will exist in greater states the more they are separate. The wall of separation between church and state was a Jefferson quote when he was penning the Virginia statute of religious liberty. He thought it was such a great accomplishment of his that it was actually included on his tombstone as one of his great works. The Jefferson statute for religious freedom, and he was most closely connected to this one. Jefferson's theism and belief that his relationship with God was a very personal matter. His declaration that religion is a matter which lies solely between a man and his God, and that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship might be read in this context. It's a fascinating thing. It's very different from the United States today. A lot of people talk about what happened in the 1800s, the Pentecost, and the split where the Protestant tradition is so alien from the Catholic tradition because of concepts of free will, which differ amongst the denominations, and the belief in the afterlife in terms of things. It really does change someone's demeanor, I've noticed, Camelia, in what they believe about the afterlife as to their how they view their fellow man. Have you noticed? Typically, the more hatefulness you'll find in someone's heart, the more their view of the afterlife reflects their own demeanor, right? You'll typically find, and then it can go all the way up to like people who like the Catholic version of things when it comes to purgatory, for example. You know, this is alien to the tradition of the Protestants. And I'm not sure what was the vision of heaven and hell, or the view of the traditions that you were raised in. Like, what was your view of hell that you were raised to believe? Was it a true fire and brimstone, Camelia?
No, it was actually very different. There were probably a lot of things that I was raised believing that most Christians would consider heretical.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of them, is that we had always believed that hell is just death. Like if you die, you die. Like you just heaven or eternal life was if you are raised from the dead when Jesus returns. But it wasn't like people were, you were going to be raised from the dead, and then there was going to be, like casting into, fiery pit to burn forever and ever and ever. So yeah, it just meant that you died. The dead no more. So yeah, it was a little different, but no, I know what you're saying. Like there is, and this is not, don't get me wrong, this is not all Christians, but there is, like, it does give you, and I can speak from experience on this, like it does give you a different mindset to think that you are in some way responsible for making sure that other people have eternal life, and that they do not die and go to hell or never, will be raised from the dead again. You will, and there's that fear, like, that you have with family members. I'll never see them again, right? So you are so busy kind of living with that concern, and in the future, if you are truly a devout Christian, that I think a lot of times that you forget to live in the now. And, to take people as they are right now, and to live your life as a truly good person now, not being obsessed and worrying about what's going to happen after you die, because I do think that affects your mindset. And it's interesting. It's always been interesting to me because part of that almost creates a fear that you live with, right? Whereas, that's contradictory, because the idea is that you're not supposed to fear because you have that assurance. But it creates this constant kind of internal fear, because you're so worried about what happens later and about being correct, and getting it right, because every denomination, feels like they have the truth.
It's amazing,
and that's the different thing.
It's amazing. They're
Right.
all 100% true, right? Whenever you walk in the doors, it's they're completely self-assured of that. Yeah, it's fascinating because those base beliefs that each of them have, like that each of the denominations have, they all contribute to as well to people's politics. And people, their religion absolutely informs their politics. So you have this sect of Catholicism, which is anti-libertarian in the sense of it's imperialist, right? And then you also have a sect of Catholicism that is Jesuit, and it's anti-libertarian in that it's Marxist. And then you have those few, Judge Napolitano, Pope John Paul II. Also, yes, earlier I called it the Protestant Reformation, the Pentecost. I apologize. That was a misphrase. I meant the Protestant Reformation, not the Pentecost. But then you have Catholic libertarians and libertarianism, which is a fascinating movement. You got Tom Woods and many others. And Ron Paul is a Christian Protestant libertarian, but of course Ron Paul never wore his religion on his sleeve. The thing about Ron Paul was that he didn't have to get elected by like going out. They had to squeeze it out of him. I remember the few times people asked him, he says, "For those who ask, I freely confess that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and that's what it is. You know, that informs my soul and my spiritual things." And then he went on some autistic rant about the Federal Reserve, and we all were like, comfortable again, right? But that's not what. Charlatans always are the ones typically who wear their religion the loudest on their sleeves, because it's just like the conservative women online who like be posting their boobs and talking about being a trad wife. Usually the louder somebody is about something, the less humble that they are in something, the less
if you have to tell everybody if you have to tell everybody you're a lady,
you probably
or you're
aren't
a Christian, or you're this, you probably aren't, right?
Yeah. I'm a Christian. I'm a lady. No, you're not. You're a whore of Babylon. I got John Dennis coming on. This has been a great conversation, Camellia. We've certainly gotten the weeds. Anything else you want to share before we go?
No, just have a great day, everybody. If you're in Missouri, stay warm. It's really cold out there.
Yes, it is. All right, Camellia. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great day. All right, we got to go get John Dennis. I'm running late. Boy, this show is late today. Sorry, guys. Still recovering from yesterday. Oh, it was such a nice day off. We'll be right back with John Dennis. Talk about that Rand Paul endorsement of Donald Trump when we get back on the For Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and we're on the For Liberty Network, because that's what we're all about. And it's not just me. 3 shows. 1, 2, 3 shows. 2 new shows that launched at the end of last year, which was surprisingly not that long ago. Liberty Tonight, Culturama, and Liberty Tonight, the 2 new shows. I'm Austin. I'm the host of the Wake Up America show, but we've got 2 other great shows that you need to check out on the For Liberty Network. Austin, how do I find the new shows? It's easy. Just go to forlibertynetwork.com. You'll find all of our posts there. You can join the For Liberty Network community. We are powered by Rumble and by Locals. And I think today, either today or tomorrow, is the day we're going to cross the line and get into the Rumble Creator Studio program. It's nothing less than a revolution, which is what I've been discussing during the commercial break with my next guest. He is the chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus, a San Francisco treat, jaundiced, joining us live here on the Wake Up America show. Known John for a long time. He's as freedom fightery as it gets. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good, John. Hey, thanks so much for getting up so early out there on the West Coast and joining us here in the frigid Midwest. It's pretty dang cold here, but I don't know what the weather's like out there, but I imagine, another balmy day. Oh, it might get as low as 60 degrees out there today, John?
Yeah, we had our cold weather. Now we're starting to move into the sweet spot here. So,
yeah,
lovely day for golf, that's for sure.
John, yesterday, your friend and mine, Senator Rand Paul, announced that he would endorse Donald Trump after not having done so. It's trending #1 on X right now, so everybody's talking about it. It's important because, he's one of us, right? The holdover from the Tea Party years who stayed strong. He fought Fauci. He fought the COVID tyranny, but he wasn't quite ready for MAGA primetime yet. Now he's on board. Some people call him a Johnny-come-lately. I think it's smart. Your reaction to the Senator Rand Paul endorsement of Donald Trump?
Well, I didn't know we were going to talk about this. I actually have a bit of history here. So Rand and I have been friends for a long time. In 2016, I sat across the table from him in a restaurant in the summer of 2016 here in San Francisco. And even while Gary Johnson was running as a Libertarian nominee, a race that I think you were involved in. Were you involved in that one, or you 2012?
16.
16. When Gary was the nominee, I told Rand that he had to endorse Trump. And he was just shocked because he thought I would have supported Gary. But that started a conversation for him that led to him endorsing Donald Trump. Fast forward to last year, 1 year ago, right about now, he and I traveled to California together. We were doing events for local counties and helping to promote his book. And he hadn't endorsed Donald Trump, and we talked a little bit about that, and we talked about the issues and the reasons why, and I thought he should possibly maybe signal to the Trump campaign that he was going to do it at some point, but just had to fight the right timing, and he never did get around to it. We talked about it again this past summer, and his reservations and some of his concerns, and then it just never happened. So. I think, he and I also spoke last month for about an hour about a number of different things. And I think he finally, and one of his big concern, I think, was tariffs. And now I think he realizes that the tariff threats are largely just use of leverage to get what he wants from nations that depend on this country. And so I think he was becoming more comfortable with moving forward with his full-throated support.
And it seems to be, because he mentioned Ukrainian warmongers in his post, it seems as if Rand is most interested in Donald Trump's departure from a neoconservative foreign policy. Would you guess?
I don't think he ever had that. I don't think that was a big concern of his. I don't think he saw Donald Trump as a neoconservative. I think he was concerned.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I worded that confusingly. I meant that the thing that Rand seems to like the most about Trump is that he is a departure from neoconservative.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
I was unclear.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely, for sure. I mean, that was the first thing I said to him in 2016 at that dinner. I said, he's with us on foreign policy. Donald Trump is his nature is anti-war. He gets that. And Rand, Rand had a relationship with Donald Trump prior to Trump's involvement in politics, because, as you know, Rand is an ophthalmologist. He would do these missions down to Central America, and Donald Trump supported him, would donate money to his missions in South America to remove cataracts and do eye surgeries down there. So they had a relationship. And then when Trump was rough on him in the 2016 primary, I think he was like, this isn't cool. He wasn't too thrilled about it.
Sure.
But at that point, he had sort of settled down, and was continuing on with his reelection for his Senate race again in 2016, and that's when I think he was open to having that discussion. But absolutely, Donald Trump is with us 100% on foreign policy. And by the way, that is the reason why the establishment hates him so much, is because, as Tucker Carlson did a podcast recently with a gentleman whose name escapes me. He hasn't been the gentleman he had the discussion with, I think, is still waiting for, he's been appointed to something, but waiting for confirmation. And they basically said that there is no domestic policy, there is only foreign policy, and that the State Department really drives spending and really drives the policy of the entire government. And when Donald Trump got up and criticized the Iraq War in such vocal terms in his, I think it was his second debate, that was the line drawn in the sand, and that's when the establishment in Washington went after him.
It's a fascinating point in history, John, because here we are as Liberty Republicans, inside the Republican Party, very much the believers in the ideas of Austrian economics, of Friedrich Hayek, of Ludwig von Mises, of Murray Rothbard. These are sort of our avatars. And during the Tea Party years, we thought that we would get our ideas across in government through that way, with Thomas Massie and Rand Paul and Justin Amash. But it's in an odd sort of way, MAGA's takeover of the Republican Party and the subsequent election of Donald Trump in his second term, after everything that occurred in the first term to undermine him, and the subterfuge and the lies and the Russian collusion, and then the election irregularities in 2020, and 4 years of Biden. It's strange. It's as if the Tea Party movement fell apart, but that it's sort of been brought back to life. It's like a video game character who gets like a potion that brings it back to life, and it's back in the game. Libertarianism, in a way, has come roaring back to the front of the conversation because of the Department of Government Efficiency, because of an autistic man named Elon Musk who the left just managed to piss off. It's like it's MAGA libertarianism that we're seeing coming out of the White House. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 1,000%. Well, you and I first met was 2009. So think about that, 16 years ago. That was when the first time I ran against Nancy Pelosi. It was kind of became a big deal within our circles for that, for that election cycle. And think about where we were. I was actually running against another Republican in a closed primary, the last closed primary we had in California, and had to and this person was still defending the Patriot Act and still defending the Iraq War. And I think where we are today, where the party is, the party has returned to its Robert Taft roots. You know, it's pre-Buckley, pre-Korean War foreign policy. And I think, you know, if you look at this in terms of a closed loop, in a sense, that this all started with Ron Paul and that Ron Paul campaign. Ron Paul begat the Tea Party. The Tea Party, in some senses, begat Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has, you know, closed the loop by sort of circling back to Ron Paul. And so it's really interesting that Ron's name is being brought up to get involved with the audit of the Fed, because it's just like there's like some sort of, you know, beautiful poetic justice about that.
The people who are on our spectrum are very few in number in terms of the people who agree with with our beliefs. You know, 99 out of 100 times they're going to vote with us. The one person that you would say is that guy is going to be Thomas Massie. And it's difficult sometimes to judge someone's ideology based on just what they say, because you want to see what they do. How do they actually vote? So as the chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus, your job, you're tasked with, is to track the votes of these legislators. Not what they say. They can say all day long, I want to abolish the IRS, but would they actually vote for it? Would they actually vote to abolish the income tax? Would they actually vote, you know, positively in favor of advancing our individual rights? So talk to us about your project to track the votes of our lawmakers based on their liberty score, based on how well they coincide with the views that people like you and I hold.
Right. So the Republican Liberty Caucus has been around for a little more than 30 years. It's a 527, you know, political nonprofit. And one of the things that we started doing years ago was we started thinking, okay, how would, you know, the sort of the liberty-oriented Republican vote on all of these bills that the you know, our members, the Republican members of the House and the Senate, how would they vote? And so it naturally led to us developing a scorecard that we do on a scale of 1 to 100. And we release this annually. It's called the Republican Liberty Caucus Liberty Index. Yesterday we released the House version. We did an Twitter/X space last night with Thomas Massie and Andy Biggs and a few other folks. And it's on our website, rlc.org. And yeah, we had this year's results were surprising. We had sort of a new high and a new low. If you go to the website and pull up that index, you'll see that we have the highest ranking, the highest vote, or not vote getters, but scorers up top there. And you'll notice something odd, that too, Andy Biggs and Thomas Massie both have scores over 100. And that's because we gave a couple of extra points to those who support the abolition of the Federal Reserve. So they scored above that. But what's also really interesting is that we by far have our lowest scoring average, which is the average Republican in the House got a score of 34 on the Republican Liberty Caucus Liberty Index this year. That's down 31 points. 30 points from last year, which was also down 10 points from the year before. So think about that. The average Republican is voting 34. I got to say, we don't do the Democrats, but I can't imagine the Democrats are much worse than 34. And so one of the reasons why this is particularly timely this year is because, you know, for the Trump agenda, the MAG agenda, the America First agenda, which has basically become the liberty agenda in the federal government, for that to succeed, we need House Republicans to hold, you know, to have a stiff spine and hold the line. And this is where we're really concerned right now. And in fact, Thomas talked about that at length. So do you have the index? Have you taken a look at it?
I have. Where can people find it if they want to pull it up right now, John?
It's at rlc.org. Republican Liberty Caucus, rlc.org.
Oh, I can't pull it up on the screen right now just because of the settings, but we can talk through it if you like.
Yeah, sure. So when you pull it up, you'll notice a lot of the same. You know, it's interesting. You know, what we do. One of the things that Thomas mentions is that we do not publish what our position is on a bill prior to the vote. what we do is we just look back and we keep track throughout the year, and then we publish this all at the end. So in other words, it's not rigged. We're not trying to influence their votes. We're actually just, trying to determine where people's positions are, where their souls are at, frankly, in terms of the vote. And that what's interesting about that is that we consistently get people. Thomas has never scored less than 100. Andy Biggs is probably about a 97. Eli Crane, who's a relatively new congressman, also from Arizona, has a 97. Chip Roy, 97. Marjorie Taylor Greene, 96.
I saw that J.D. Vance had an 85, which was kind of surprising. This was from 2023, but when he was in the Senate, Senator J.D. Vance had an 85, which I would actually say is pretty good.
Oh yeah, well, the Senate. Wait till we get to the Senate. I want to come back if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the Senate because we'll be releasing that. But what's great about what's good about the House is if you pull this up, we put the high scoring folks up at the top, and you notice an interesting thing. We have a lot of folks who are 80 or better. Warren Davidson, who's a real supporter of the Liberty Caucus out of Ohio, he's an 80, and he's sort of the low of the high guys, right? But we have Matt Gaetz has gone, Paul Gosar, Lauren Boebert, Harriet Hageman, who's been great, Ralph Norman, Keith Self. We have a nice core group of people who vote like Liberty Republicans consistently. But then we have some really bad guys. Do you know, I've never seen this before in this. We have what looks like, I haven't done the count here, but it's got to be almost 30, maybe 35 people in the House who got 5 out of 100.
What? How does that happen?
5. Well, this year, I will say that this year's, the methodology we use is included. We list the votes, what our position would have been and how these folks voted. And we go through every single vote and how each Republican member of the House voted. And this year was a little bit heavier on foreign policy. And that may have influenced. And so folks who might have gotten 30 in the past in a heavy foreign policy year, where the House doesn't see that many bills on foreign matters, they got dropped down dramatically. But the other part of it is that when Republicans are in control, when they're not in control, let's put it this way, when, say, Nancy Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries is the speaker, it's easy to vote against everything they bring up. So you look like a rock star when you get to, because you're voting no against everything. But then when we're in charge, we get to see who you really are and what you're doing to keep your seat in the district. And that's where the really bad votes come out.
I see Whitman and a Womack have scores of 5. Steve Scalise, 5. Let's see some other names that we might recognize here. Let's see. I honestly, I'm shocked at Marjorie Taylor Greene.
How about Elise Stefanik? Elise Stefanik, 15.
Let's see.
Maria Salazar, 5.
I would say anybody above 80 is pretty good, but I'm looking at the tops. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, 96. Man, I don't care if she's crazy. If they're going to vote along with me alongside, then I'll take him in the trenches. Chip Roy, 97. I mean, not a surprise there. But maybe the thing that is the most surprising here is the average Republican score, 34. Womp womp.
Yeah. And if you, no, it's bad. And last year's score was 64. So this is really interesting. And so it's funny. I've been talking to you. I think since I met you, the first time we met was when you were producing Judge Napolitano's show. It was called
Freedom Watch.
It was a streaming show, one of the first streaming Fox shows. I announced my candidacy against Nancy Pelosi. Since that time, I've probably done 1,000 media appearances, more than 1,000 media appearances. So I've got a relationship with a lot of producers. Right now, it was really hard to get on because there's on the shows to talk about this index, because there's so much interesting and good stuff coming out of the Trump administration that we couldn't bring this up. But this, I think, is the next interesting story, because Thomas talked about last night about how on March 14th, Pi Day, there's going to be a coming to Jesus moment, and an issue where they're going to have to vote on a CR, continuing resolution, as to whether or not we fund the government, and are we going to do any of the cuts that DOGE is bringing up. So he thinks that what's going to happen is all of this egregious spending, this awful spending that you're hearing coming out of DOGE, is actually going to get funded at the hands of Republicans in the House on March 14th. And I think the suspects, the most suspect people who are going to vote to continue that crazy spending are the folks who are the low scorers on the Republican Liberty Index.
Well, we'll keep an eye on them, and now we can, because we've got access to the list at rlc.org, Republican Liberty Caucus. It's a 507, and Senator Rand Paul and Thomas Mass. So on the Senate side of things, when I'm looking at the older scores, you've got the Senate side is coming out, right? So we've only got the House side?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So this is the House, and in a few weeks we'll do the Senate. If you'd like to have me back, I'm happy to bring it back when we do the Senate. We'll release it on a Twitter space with Rand Paul. I think Mike Lee is going to join us. I think the Senate actually looks a little bit better. I've seen a first draft, and it looks a little bit better, I think, than last year. We might have a few higher scores. But the Senate has traditionally been far worse than the House, as difficult as that is to imagine. Last year, we only had 4 guys who had scores of 80 or better, and 2 of them have left. J.D. Vance as you mentioned, was a pleasant surprise. I expected him to have a far more aggressive posture on foreign policy, but he was actually pretty good. And then Mike Braun, who has had a great score, is now the governor of Indiana. So that the two best scores from last year are still in the Senate, and those are, of course, Rand Paul and Mike Lee.
Are you optimistic, John, about with everything that's going on right now? Or because a lot of libertarians were kind of black-pilled there for a long time. That we were going to be in the wilderness. I mean, I've never been this excited about the potential for our ideas to win as I am right now under this current administration. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I feel really good because the president, the executive branch, controls foreign policy, and that's where a lot of the danger and damage is done to the United States. As I said earlier, there is no domestic policy, there's only foreign policy. So in that regard, I feel really good. But the other thing is that the EOs are great, the executive orders, but they're really the junk food. The meal is the legislation that comes out of the House and the Senate that gets signed by the president. That's more lasting and more sustaining. On that front, I'm a little bit more anxious, a little bit more concerned, based on what I heard from Thomas last night. Again, March 14 is sort of D-Day for that. We'll get a sense of where things stand. And Thomas has said he's talking to the White House. I know he's got some strong relationships within the Trump administration about that date and what they're going to do to try and thwart a business as usual approach on March 14th.
John Dennis, where can people follow you online if they want to get all of the latest alerts of what's happening at the Republican Liberty Caucus?
So our handle on Twitter is Our Liberty Caucus, Our Liberty Caucus. My handle is Real John Dennis, Our Liberty Caucus, though. And by all means, if you're a follower of Austin's, then please go to rlc.org and join the RLC. It's a nominal fee. I think it's $45. And it really helps us to do this work that we're doing right now to keep the Republican Party on track, to hold them to account. I got to tell you something. These congressmen, they follow this stuff. I got a lot of calls on this. A lot of guys want to come on, and the low scorers really hang their heads in shame.
There we go. Good, John. Good work. Humble, faithful servant of liberty, John Dennis, the chair of the Republican Liberty Caucus. Yeah, well, we'll definitely have you back when they got the Senate. Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. John Dennis. Shall we give him a round of applause? I think so. He's working very hard to secure your freedom. I'm glad to have you here. Decision Points over in the Rumble chat brought something up that I thought was interesting. We've been talking a little bit about artificial intelligence this morning and what the potentials for artificial intelligence are. Grok 3 was just released, and I've got access to it because I have the X super premium account. Decision Points over in the chat says that groups like this, like the RLC, they need a common API, which is a communication standard for developers, people who develop websites and apps and things. And they need a common API that they can publish their rankings through. Anyone know of an app that offers that? It would be cool to see if the rankings of candidates and reps, based on different watchdogs. Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, my friend, Decision Points, because I don't know how to code an app like that. But the beautiful thing about the modern world is that we live in a world now where anything that you can dream of, you can pretty much code. So I'm on Grok right now. I've pulled it up live. And I have a member of my chat room on my show who had an idea. I'm copying and pasting it for you here. Is it possible for you to help me create an API or an app which will accomplish his idea? Here. Groups like this need a common API, Decision Points wrote. They can publish their rankings through. Anyone know of an app that offers that? It would be cool to see the rankings of candidates and reps based on different watchdogs. So, his idea, which is the following, and would bring together these legislative ranking scorecard information into one big grouping. Let's see what it says. Grok 3. Chat room members' idea is a fantastic one, creating a common API or app that aggregates legislative ranking scorecards from various watchdog groups into a central platform. This would allow users to compare rankings. Goal, develop an API or potentially a simple front-end app that collects, standardizes, and serves legislative scorecard data from multiple watchdog groups. Here's the conceptual design of it. All here. Pull the scorecard data. Here's the key features of this. Legislator profile, scorecard sources, search filters, comparison tool. Here are the data sources. Heritage, it listed it for us. ACLU, NAACP, Ballotpedia, Legiscan. We'll need to get the RLC one in there. You'd need to manually collect, scrape, or download data from groups without APIs. Use existing APIs, user submissions. Here's the technical structure. Right there. Boom. You just copy that code. Here's the tools and technologies you'll need. Here are the development steps. Here are the challenge solutions. Here are the next steps. Since they can't code it directly, here's how you can see it. Oh, you can't code it directly? Well, guess what? ChatGPT can. So there you go. There's no excuse anymore. That's the thing about the new artificial intelligence. There's no excuse not to accomplish your goals or your dreams. If you have a plan and there's something standing in your way and it's something technical, no more. It's just a matter of, are you willing to take the steps to actually do it? Will you actually stand up and say, you know what? It can be done. It can be done by me because of the new artificial intelligence tools. So now I'm going to do it. That's what it is. Will you do it? I hope Decision Points does it. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. It's a great idea. Take it and run with it, guys. You've got all these tools at your disposal, guys. The potential is limitless. I'm about to log on to all my AI platforms after this one and just create a ton of awesome stuff. You can too. Have a wonderful day at your jobs, whatever you guys are doing today. If you're frozen solid like we are here and you can't get out, then I hope you enjoy your days at home, working from home if you're lucky like me. Have a wonderful day, guys. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow, Freedom Family Friday, on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Exit through the Grift Shop. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.